What are the parameters means how we are choosing the field that length n, and it's a subspace K, and that my error correcting capacity depends on D. The D is nothing but the minimum distance of the code. When you have all this, then you can find out what is the error correcting capacity. Yes, can I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So next we are going to see what's the generator matrix of a code. So for every code, there is a generator matrix. So what is the generator matrix? Actually, a code is nothing but I have told it's a subspace of the field FQN. So if you have a subspace means it's a vector space, right? Then it has a basis of dimension K. So with this basis elements only we are framing this generator matrix. So the generator matrix G will consist of the rows. The rows are nothing but the basis elements of the code words. So once you have a generator matrix of a code means, then by multiplying that original message with the generator matrix, you get that code word. See here, I have told you how to choose a proper matrix, right? So this matrix, how we are choosing means you are choosing a generator matrix of a code. Then the message, original message, when it is multiplied with the generator matrix, you are getting a code word. Is it clear? Okay. So that is the generator which generates all possible code words. So parity check matrix is nothing but it is a matrix which generates the orthogonal complement of the code. That is, the parity matrix is actually, when you consider, it is a generator matrix of the dual code C. So when it's a dual code, right, it generates only the dual code of C. Therefore, when you multiply G into H transpose, G times H transpose, it will become 0. Because Y means H is the generator matrix of the orthogonal complement of C, which is generated by G. So we have G H transpose is equal to 0. So that means when you take any code word, when you multiply with the G itself, it is giving us 0 means H times C transpose, where C is the code word. When you multiply, you will get 0. So this is the basic idea you have to understand. So for every code word, there is a generator matrix. Similarly, you can define a parity check matrix for that code. Parity check matrix is nothing but that is a matrix when you multiply with the code word, it will be equal to 0. Is it clear? So when you multiply with some element which is you are getting an answer is yes, which is not equal to 0 means you tell that yes as a syndrome. When you multiply a parity check matrix with a word and you are getting 0 means you can tell that C as a code word. Other than 0, if you get some other element means, then S is called the syndrome of the word X. Also X, you can also tell it as an error vector. S is the syndrome, right? So every code will have a generator matrix. Generator matrix, you can put the generator matrix into a standard form. How you can put means first you can bring it to, so generate, it will be, see, for any code, actually code is a vector space. I have told it will have bases need not be unique. So for depending upon every basis, you will have a generator matrix. So any generator matrix, when you take that, you can reduce into a standard form. The first step, K cross K elements will be identity, and the remaining elements you can take it as X. So when a generator matrix is known to you, you can also find out the parity check matrix of the code. It is nothing but minus X transpose concatenated with the identity matrix of order n minus K. So why we are bringing into a generator matrix means it's easy for encoding and decoding. How to encode a original message means, as I told, you have to find out M times G, then the resultant. M goes to M times G. M times G is your, the resultant is your code word. So your code word is sent through the channel, noisy channel. So the code word, you won't receive the code word itself. So the code word will corrupted with some errors. So the receive, you will get the receive word. So what is the receive word means? It's nothing but the code word plus error. Yes. So receive word minus code word means you will get the error pattern, right? So there are decoding with the linear code is achieved with various methods. One is nearest neighbor decoding method, syndrome decoding, and standard array decoding. So this nearest neighbor, we cannot use it for the large size code. Therefore, we are moving on to syndrome decoding. It is an efficient decoding, right? So there are number of codes, error correcting codes. Among that, we are choosing GOPA code. Why we are choosing GOPA code, we can see later. First of all, we can see what will be the structure of the GOPA code. So GOPA code is named after the scientist GOPA, right? For a parameter t, let g of x be a polynomial of degree t. See, you are choosing a parameter t and you are taking a polynomial of degree t over fqm, fq to the power m. And let L be the set of elements alpha 1, alpha 2 to alpha n, contains n distinct elements which are not the root of this polynomial. So you are just considering, though it is our it's a mathematics romba theriyra irundha kuda, it's so simple only. Just you are taking a polynomial of degree t and you are choosing some elements alpha 1 to alpha n which are not the roots of this polynomial. When you have these two sets, you can generate the GOPA code. How means it is nothing but the set of all code words. What are those code words means? When it satisfies that C satisfies this equation means, then that is a code word. It's a code word where C is of n tuple, where each Ci, that summation I is equal to 1 to n Ci by x minus alpha is congruent to 0 mod g of x. When the Ci, we know that alpha and g of x. From that we can compute this equation, and the elements which satisfies the equation forms the code word. So to generate a GOPA code, what are the parameters required? Yes. Are you there with me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
L.
Okay. L and
G of x.
L and
G of x. Good. L and G of x. G of x is nothing but a polynomial of degree. Actually, we will be taking an irreducible polynomial. And L is nothing but the elements which are not of roots of G of x. From that, you can construct the GOPA code. See, look at, so what are the G of x? What is the degree of G of x is t. And L contains n elements. So now you have got two parameters, n and t. N is the length of the code word, and the error correcting capacity is nothing but t, which is given by that primitive polynomial. How we are choosing the primitive polynomial with the degree, that that determines the error correcting capacity. So from that you can find out the dimension of the code. It is nothing but n minus mt. What is this m means? N is expressed in 2 to the power n. N is taken for GOPA code, n is chosen as 2 to the power m. So n minus mt is the dimension of the code. So why we are using GOPA codes means GOPA codes are easy to generate. So if you know a polynomial and a primitive polynomial, that is irreducible polynomial, when you take, I'm not going much deep into mathematics. Actually here we are choosing a polynomial I have told. That must be an irreducible polynomial that cannot be factored. As we know, integer factor, it's an irreducible means which cannot be factored in this field, right? We are choosing a polynomial and a set alpha and a set L. With that, we can generate the GOPA code. So easy to generate, but hard to find. What is meant by hard to find? We can see, right? So an irreducible polynomial over a finite field. So we are going to, hereafter we are going to see a binary GOPA code. Instead of FQM, we will be seeing F2 to the power M. So the elements will be a bit string of, right? Bit string. It can be used to create a Gopa code. And the generator matrix of Gopa codes are nearly random. So when you choose this Gopa codes, for this you will have a generator matrix that will look like a random matrix. From the matrix, you cannot identify what code has been used. So it will look like a nearly random. And for a fixed length n, there are many different Gopa codes. See, we can see, look at here, for n is equal to 128 and t is equal to, the error correcting capacity is 10 and the length of the code word is 128. So it is 1.04 into, there is a mistake, it is into 10 to the power 15. So many Gopa codes are available with the length n and the parameter t. Similarly, for n is equal to 128 and t is equal to 15, you have this many Gopa codes. So the number of Gopa codes grows exponentially with n and t. So Gopa code have a fast polynomial time decoding algorithm. So we have seen what is an error correcting codes. Among that, there are many codes. We are choosing Gopa codes. The reason behind this, it is easy to generate as well as it have a fast decoding algorithm. So when an encoding and decoding process is efficient, we must have an encoding and decoding must be fast, right? And it has to correct so many errors, as many errors as possible. So that can be provided by this Gopa code. So the next we are going to see some of the hard problems in coding theory. So I have told it is different from number theory, right? So what is the thing? When H, let H, T and S. What H is the parity check matrix of the code, and T is the error correcting capacity, and in S, if the three values are given to you, when H, T and S, can you able to find out an E vector of length of, sorry, not length, it's of weight T. What do you mean by weight? Yes. See, when you understand this syndrome decoding problem means, this is the hard problem here. All the crypto systems based on coding theory are built on one of this hard problem only, right? Like we have seen number theory, RSA, Diffie-Hellman, elliptic-curve, whatever the thing, it is based on either integer factorization or discrete log or elliptic-curve discrete log problem, right? There are very few, handful amount of hard problems, and the crypto systems are built on it, right? Similarly, a code-based crypto system means will lie on the syndrome decoding problem. Even you can change the code, Gopa code, you can use any other code, but the syndrome decoding problem, it is based on the syndrome decoding problem only, right? So when a parity check matrix of a code and a S is given to you, can you able to find out this E of vector? This is a vector of weight at most T. What is the weight of that vector? Means the number of ones in that vector. We are seeing in F2, right? Yes, any doubt means you can ask. What is Gopa parametrics bounded decoding problem means? When a parity check matrix is H is given and a syndrome S is given to you, you have to find out a vector or the weight at most T I have told in syndrome decoding. But here, what is that weight means? The weight is given by the Gopa parameters. That is n minus k by log n base 2. Where n is the length of the code word and k is the dimension. With the parameters, you can find out what is T. So when H and S, we have to find out E with this weight. But finding that vector is an NP-complete problem. So Gopa code distinguishing problem is when a parity check matrix of a Gopa code is given, can you distinguish a random code? It will look like a random code. So can you distinguish a parity check matrix of the Gopa code from a random matrix? So that is also difficult. It's hard, but Faggre et al. Show that the high rate binary Gopa code can be distinguished from random linear codes only for high rate codes. So we have to choose proper parameter. Yes, in order to avoid this Gopa code distinguishing problem, right? Okay, so let us see how encoding is and decoding is done in Gopa code. Yes, for Gopa code, I have told we have to choose a set L and a polynomial of degree T and the set with n elements. So with this, then you can, when n and T are given to you, you can find out the dimension of the code and let G be the generator matrix of the code, right? When you know the generator matrix, then M times G will be your code word. How to generate this, how to find out the generator matrix is given here. See, look at a matrix here. You have the generator polynomial and you have the roots, the non-roots. L is the set which consists of the elements which are not roots of the polynomial. So with that, you can construct this matrix. So when you are able to, yes, you have the two elements, G and Therium, and you have that alphas, right? So with that, you can construct H matrix. Once you have the H matrix, from that you can deduce G matrix. Already I have told there is a relation between generator matrix and the parity check matrix. So from this H matrix, you can deduce G matrix and you can use it for encoding. And syndrome decoding, how to perform the syndrome decoding means, so a code word is sent in through the channel. So it is corrupted with errors. So some error vector is added with the code word. So you get the receive vector y1, y2 to yn. So from this receive vector, we have to get back your code word c1, c2 to cn. So how do you get back that code word from the receive vector? Once you know that error vector, then y vector. So all bits. So here plus means it's XR. So y vector XR with the error vector, you will get back the code word. So you have to identify the position of the error vectors and the corresponding error values. Once you know this vector, you can get back your code word. So this is how to get error vector. This is the algorithm for decoding. Yes. So its syndrome decoding is NP complete only for those persons who don't know that primitive polynomial and L vector. Don't know the parameters of the code, right? Like integer factorization is hard. For whom it is hard? Yes. Integer factorization is a one-way function, right? When you know P and Q, you can find out N. N is nothing but P times Q is your N. So when you know PQ, you can find out as N. But when you know N, can you decode? Can you compute P and Q? Can you write the factors? A person who knows only N cannot write the factors P and Q. But the person who knows P and Q, he alone has computed N, means he will write N is equal to PQ, right?
Yes.
The same thing here we are using. The person knows that values, right? Knows what are the details, he knows the L set, primitive polynomial, everything. So he can compute sigma z, W of z. What is sigma z means? It's an error locator polynomial, and the W of z is error evaluator polynomial. So he can do the decoding process. So he will find out the syndrome vector S of y using this. Mathematics behind this is this. and he can compute that syndrome of that error vector, and he will equate the syndrome with the error locator polynomial and error evaluator polynomial. You will frame that equation. Solving this equation, he will get that error vector back. Once he knows the error vector, the receive vector XR with error vector, you will get the code word and the decoding is done, right? This is the idea used in Michelle's crypto system. So when Alice wants to send a message securely to Bob over a noisy channel means, Alice will choose the message. He will message M times G. What is the G means? It's the generator matrix of Gopa code. But a new concept is introduced here. It's M times G. Usually it will send to the send through the channel. Here Alice purposely adding some error vector. Or error vector of weight at most T. Why he is choosing the weight at most T means Alice is choosing the Gopa code which is able to correct at most T errors. So Alice is choosing a T decoder. Decoder means it can correct the maximum T errors. So M times G plus an XR it with the error vector. Error vector of weight at most T, which is sent through the noisy channel. Here, yes, Bob is receiving. So this is actually it's an encryption process. So when Alice sends a message, you will multiply with the whose public key. M times G is nothing but Bob's public key, right? For signature, when Alice wants to send, Alice will be using her private key. When for encryption, when Alice wants to send a message to Bob, Alice will be using Bob's public key. So here this G is nothing but the Bob's public key. That G is a generating matrix of the Gopa code chosen by Bob. And an error vector is added. It is sent through the channel. And Bob knows the decoding algorithm of the generator matrix. So he decodes and get back the original message. So the key generation. See, this Michelle's crypto system, actually it is in the NIST competition. Not straight away Michelle's, it's nothing but an classic Michelle's, which is used in that key encapsulation mechanism, right? So that is based on Michelle's crypto system only. So in the third round also, it's withstanding all the attacks. So under code base, the main system is the heart of the code base crypto system is nothing but Michelle's. And let G be the generating matrix of a Gopa code whose parameters are 2 power m is the n length of the code and n minus mt is the dimension k of the code. And it's nothing but 2t plus 1 means the distance, minimum distance. So these are the parameters of the code. So we are taking an invertible binary matrix of order k cross k and permutation matrix of order n cross n. This matrix G matrix, we are going to hide this G matrix by pre-multiplying and post-multiplying by that invertible matrix and with the permutation matrix. We are going to hide the structure of the G matrix, right? So once the generator matrix is pre-multiplied and post-multiplied, you get the resultant is G prime. That will be given as the public key of the user. So what are the secret key? Bob is generating his public key, choosing a code, choosing a generator matrix of that code. This green color is nothing but the generator of the matrix, right? And he choose a proper invertible matrix and a permutation matrix, and S times G times P he computes, and finally he got G prime. He announces this G prime as the public key and he has the private key with him, right? So this public key will be looking like a random code. It is a it is a matrix. It doesn't reveal any structure of the code because you have scrambled the data, right? G matrix, and you have permuted. So G prime is nothing but the scrambling and the permutation done on the generator matrix. So this resultant will look like a random matrix. So anyone who has this the orange color matrix, that is a random matrix, cannot find out this is a, cannot distinguish this matrix as a matrix of a Gopa code, right? Is it clear?
Yes, madam.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So now we can see that encryption process. So if you want to send Alice wants to send a message to Bob, Alice has to choose Bob's public key, right? So Bob's public key is G prime. So Alice chooses a message M times G prime. Along with that, an error vector of weight at most T is added. This resultant is your code word M times G prime plus an error vector. The resultant cryptogram is sent through the noisy channel. So on the receiver side, how will Bob do that decoding process? How will he perform? See, once he receives that cryptogram, just he has what are the keys with him? Yes, G prime. He has the 3 matrices. So he just multiplied the cryptogram with P prime. That is, when you do C with C times P prime means you look at here you're having M G prime plus E, right? This whole thing is multiplied with P inverse matrix. This is P not prime, it's P inverse matrix. So when you multiply the whole thing by P inverse, in G prime you are having SGP. So P and P inverse get cancelled and you have here EP inverse, right? So P is a permutation matrix. So E is an error vector of weight T means, will the permutation matrix will change the weight of that error vector? E is a error vector of weight T. P is a permutation matrix. Just it will permute that elements, right? It won't change any values. So, and the P inverse is also again a permutation matrix. So the weight of the error vector remains the same. So when you have the vector of weight at most T means, then that can be easily decoded by the decoding function of Gopa code, right? So with this, you have a decoding function. With that decoding function, you can decode, and what will you get back? This is your decoding function G. The corresponds to G, you will have a decoding function. You are applying the decoding function to this vector, that is M times SG plus EP P inverse, right? When you apply the decoding function, what will you get back means you will get MS. MS is be treated as some message, right? This decoding function will remove this error vector and it will give MS. Then you have that Bob has that private key. Yes, so he can compute S inverse and get back the original message M. Okay. Any doubt in this Mekele crypto system? So actually, this crypto system is well studied for past 40 years. It is its growth is nothing but analogous to RSA, right? So at that time itself, this crypto system was well developed, right? But why we are not using this crypto system in practice means because of its huge public keys. The size of the public is very large. And the security level of Mekele has persisted stable despite of all attacks over 40 years. So every time a proposal is coming, giving an attack against Mekele, but it's still withstanding. Then many proposals are aims to reducing the key size of this Mekele. So they are bringing a different codes in the place of Gopa code in order to reduce the key size. The same encryption algorithm, decryption algorithm, but what they are choosing is different generator matrix. That when you change the generator, that's nothing but you are just changing the code. Yes. So versions, a lot of modified versions are coming in order to reduce the key size of McEliece. They are not finding any attacks on the encryption, decryption, any part. There's no, yes, there is no any error, anything here. But only part is it's of huge size, right? Everything is fine, encryption, algorithm, decryption. So lot of modified versions is coming, but many have failed. With different codes, they have given different proposal. For example, Reed-Solomon code, Reed-Muller code, then the low density parity check code, quasi-cyclic codes. All the codes they are applying on McEliece crypto system. But once when they are applying the code, this though they are hiding with S, G, and P, you are getting a public mix. This revealing that structure of the code, what they are using. For quasi-cyclic and all, even though they are multiplying, you are hiding the structure with two matrices. The final public key reveals the structure of that code. They are launching many structural attacks. So two types of attacks can be launched on any code-based crypto system. One is nothing but the structural attack to find out the structure of the code. Once you know the structure of the code means you can have the decoding function, right? That is one. Another one is without finding that secret key, they try to do that information set decoding attack. So the idea behind the information, it's a side channel attack, right? That is, they are finding a set of coordinates of a garbled vector, that scrambled vector, which are error free, and such that the restriction of codes generator matrix to these position is invertible, right? So in they are identifying that error free positions, and the codes generator matrix is invertible in such a way that they are finding, and with that submatrix and the receive vector, they are multiplying and getting back the original message. That is not full message, a part of the message will be revealed. From that, they will get back that original message. That is information set decoding attack. That is a side channel attack. But that can be, you can avoid by increasing the size of the parameters, right? With the proper key size, the parameters of the code. Yes, you can withstand. It can, that is, this McEliece crypto system can withstand that information set decoding attack. So, and it also withstands the structural attack. But when you replace other codes, then it is open to that structural attack, right? So then I have told there are a lot of modified version of McEliece. One such modified crypto system is Mediator crypto system. Mediator, just he used a parity check matrix in the place of generator matrix. So first, same thing. Here we are using the generator matrix of a code, but whereas in Mediator crypto system, a code is chosen and the parity check matrix of a code is taken, H, and he binds that or he hides the parity check matrix with an invertible matrix Q and a permutation matrix P. That is, he disguises the structure of the code. So in the key generation algorithm, the parity check matrix is chosen for the GOPA code, and it is disguised by scrambling and permuting with the Q and P matrices. The resultant H bar is given as a public matrix. Its public matrix means it's a public key, and the private key are nothing but QHP. Who will have this QHP and who will have this H bar? H bar is publicly given, right? And the person who generates the key will have that secret key. So let's see the encryption process. So that if anyone wants, Alice wants to send a message to Bob, means Alice will be choosing Bob's public key. So this H prime is nothing but Bob's public key. Just here message is converted into a vector of weight T. and H prime X transpose is your Y vector, right? That is the code word that is sent through the channel. And on receiving side, Bob will, with his private key, he will decode and get the message back, X back. How does he perform the decoding? H prime is not consists of three matrices, Q, H, P. So first he will remove this P by multiplying the resultant Y vector with P inverse. Sorry, here Q is the invertible matrix. So with Q inverse, he will remove that Q vector, Q component, and the resultant is nothing but HP X transpose. Then by applying the decoding function, Bob will get back P X transpose, and then by multiplying by P inverse, he will get back the message vector X. So the mediator crypto system, first they use the generalized Reed-Solomon codes instead of GOPA code. But it was a bad choice. Later they found that GOPA code is good in the place of generalized Reed-Solomon code. So here what I have defined is nothing but GOPA code. So pursuing the same way came use of Reed-Solomon, BCH code, Reed-Muller codes. But all the codes is reduced to the standard hard problem of coding theory. That is a syndrome decoding or general decoding problem. Majority of these variants were broken or to the lack of security proof. They reveal the structure of the codes, right? Here the Hamming quasi-cyclic, low density parity check code, rank metric code, when they are used in the place of GOPA code in Michelle's or mediator, the structures is completely revealed by the structural attack. Look at the size of that keys, right? So the size of the public key is nothing but n times k. N, I have told you, this in the form of 2 to the power m. So when you substitute for n, and k is nothing but n minus mt, this is the size of the public key. So look at the size of the public key when the parameters are chosen. So it's very large, right? So the attacks on that system is structural attack is nothing but the finding the secret key from the public key. That is very hard. And the decoding attack is nothing but hard to inverse the encoding algorithm. Once the structural attack is successful, we can do the decoding attack. Code-based crypto, when we look at the advantages and the limitations, means the system is very fast in both encryption and decryption procedures. Why the system is very fast means it's nothing but a matrix multiplication, right? It's also in terms of bits. So just XORing, right? So the system will be very fast. For decoding also, we are doing a matrix multiplication. So it is very fast in both encryption and decryption procedures and have low time complexity. It's an efficient alternative to number theoretic cryptography. It is a new area of research with a wide scope of applications. But if a random linear code is used, no one can decode efficiently. So instead of GOPA code, when you have a random code, what is a random code means? Which doesn't have an efficient decoder. When you are choosing a proper code means when you have a decoding, only one who encrypts, you can decode and get the message back. Simply when you choose one code, it's a random code. So someone will encrypt it and send the message. How do you decode? Because it doesn't have an efficient decoder. Finding and decoding, it's an NP hard in random linear code. Efficient decoding is a. So only what we are doing is we are hiding the structure of GOPA code by pre-multiplying and post-multiplying by an invertible and permuted matrix, and the resultant will look like a random code. So I have told there is no distinguisher which distinguish a matrix obtained from the GOPA code from a random matrix. You're not able to distinguish these two matrices. It will completely look like a random matrix, and we know that there's no efficient decoder for random matrices. right? So if a good code is used, anyone who knows the structure has access to fast decoder. So code-based cryptography deals with the design of such systems. We have to design the systems and cryptanalysis of such systems and the analysis of suitable parameters depending on different threat models. We have to change the parameters according to that information set decoding and all. So different threat models, we have to increase the size of the parameter and the design of protocol using the secure primitives. So we have seen two crypto system, Mecheli's and Mediator crypto system under code based. That is a very important crypto system. Any doubt till this? Can I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So till now we have seen only ordinary digital signatures. From the morning we are seeing an ordinary digital signature. So a signer will signs a document with their private key. Anyone who knows the public key of the signer can verify the signature. But whether this signature is suitable for all applications like a call for tender, software licensing, e-voting, etc., they are not suitable. Because for example, we can see a scenario where this signature is not suitable. Suppose Alice lent money to Bob, and in return, Bob provides a signed promissory note to Alice. Bob wants to keep the information as private, right? So he has signed a promissory note that he has borrowed the money from Alice. He don't want to reveal that information to anyone. So he wants to keep the information as private. But if Bob's signature is ordinary, then Alice can show the promissory note to anyone, infringing the privacy of Bob. So in certain scenario where it is personally or commercially sensitive, this ordinary signatures are not suitable. So we need a privacy preserving signatures. So what is privacy preserving signature means? Anyone who receives the signature can alone, that is anyone who receives, you cannot tell. Actually, the signature enables the signer or the receiver to decide who has to verify the issued signature. So when you sign a document, in that itself, you will decide who has to verify that signature. So such signatures are called as non-transferable signature. You cannot think a signature can be encrypted and you can send to the receiver so that the receiver on decrypting, he can alone decrypt and he can verify the signature. You cannot apply the situation there. Reason is, when you suppose an institution announces a call for tenders, so everyone will be applying their quotations, right? So in order to have an authentic quotation, everyone will be putting their sign and send it to that institution. The institution will receive those authentic quotation. In order to gain benefit, this quotation can be revealed, can be shown to someone. When you encrypt and send that the document also, the institution can decrypt it, the document, and can show the signed offers to other companies in order to get a good deal, right? So in that case, you cannot do the signature, you cannot and encrypt and send it. So in such scenario, we need some privacy preserving signature, which can decide who can verify that issued signature. There are few examples under it: undeniable, chameleon, and designated verifier signature. So among this, we are going to see the chameleon signature. It is a non-interactive scheme based on hash and sign paradigm. So the related work of this chameleon signature is this. Let's see the following process. The first process, we will be having a key generation. Then a chameleon hash algorithm will be there. So the chameleon hash, it's like a normal hash function only. In the normal hash function, one cannot invert, right? So it's a one-way function. But in the chameleon hash function, it will be generated using that input of the public key and the message and a random value. So he can invert using the secret key. So this has a special property that one who knows the secret key corresponds to the public key, they can encrypt, they can invert the function. Whereas hash function, that is the only difference between chameleon hash and ordinary hash, right? So security requirements of chameleon hash is a chameleon hash scheme has to satisfies the following security requirements. One is collusion resistant, similar to the hash function. So it should resist the collusion. And semantic security is, so when an chameleon hash is given to you, Z prime, and from that chameleon hash, can you able to find out the message? That is the entropy of M given Z prime is same as the entropy of E of M. That is, the chameleon hash will not reveal any information about the message. It looks like a random message. Entropy of M gives the randomness of M. So knowing Z prime also, you cannot get back any information about the message. Both the entropies are same. That is called semantic security. And the key exposure freeness. So it should not, that scheme should not reveal that secret key. So this, the original chameleon signature was proposed by Krasik and Rabin using the number theory concepts, right? Especially discrete log problem. So you have a key generation. So normal signature process will have 3 stages. Here we are having 4 stages. That's all. You'll have a key generation process, a chameleon hash. A signature will be generated on the chameleon hash instead of message. And a verification algorithm verifies the signature. So first, actually, this scheme consists of 2 parts. One is proposing a chameleon hash, and then next one is building a chameleon signature with the chameleon hash. As usual, the chameleon signature scheme has to satisfy unforgeability, non-transferability, non-repudiation, and deniability. So we know what is forgeability, and non-repudiation we have already seen. And the non-transferability is nothing but the recipient cannot convince a third party that the signer indeed generated. See, in ordinary message signature, one has a signed document. You can show to anyone and you can tell that this is the signature generated by so and so. Whereas non-transferability is, you are getting a signed document from Alice, you cannot show to anyone that it is signed by Alice. Yes, so it should satisfy the non-transferability property and the deniability. So the signer and the receiver has a dispute who has generated this original signature, means in that case, we can go to the trusted party and you can find out who is the original signer. So this is our proposed code-based chameleon hash scheme. So what we are doing is we are choosing a GOPA code and we are finding a chameleon hash with the GOPA code, and we are applying the McAleese crypto system on the chameleon hash. Is it clear? How the key generation is same thing. Let H be a cryptographic hash function, and let C be the GOPA code, and H be the parity check matrix of the GOPA code. We are choosing a permutation matrix and a non-singular matrix, and we are hiding the structure of the code. And H prime is announced publicly, and the secret keys are nothing but UHR. Hash computation. So here, the chameleon hash is computed using this hash function. So the inputs are H prime, M, R, comma, E. So you, and the small h is the cryptographic hash functions. With that, you can compute H, M, comma, R, hash of that message and R with this XR with H prime times E transpose, where E is the error vector of weight T. We are computing this chameleon hash Z, and we are outputting the chameleon hash. What is the property of the chameleon hash means? So with here we are choosing H prime. the parity check matrix, H prime is the public key, right, of a some code, right? So whose parity matrix, that is whose public key is chosen, that person can decode this. So that receiver can decode it. Yes, actually it's not a decoding here. What is the thing means, the idea behind here is why we are proposing this chameleon hash means we have to generate a non-transferable signature. When you have key generation, signing and verification, three process means we are just generating an ordinary signature. Here we are introducing a chameleon hash. Why means the signer is signing a document, sending a document to the receiver. The receiver should not show that document to anyone, right? So if he shows also, the third party should not believe it. So how we can do means we are including the receiver's private key here. Once we have included the private key in that process means even when the receiver show that signed document to another person, the receiver using his secret key can compute it. That third party will think that receiver has computed this Z prime. So we have found that hash computation, and we have shown that how the receiver computes the collusion on this computation, right? So with the chameleon hash scheme, we have built the code-based chameleon signature scheme. That signature scheme is built on this chameleon hash. So this is nothing but the Michaelis crypto system just applied on the chameleon hash, right? So we have proved that security of that proposed code-based chameleon scheme, right? So we are telling this chameleon hash is collusion resistant, provided that the underlying problem, that is GOPA parameterized bounded decoding, is hard. This is how we have reduced the provable security. We have shown that provable security, that is strength of our crypto system. Once you are able to find out a collusion in the chameleon hash, you are able to solve the GOPA code problem. But the GOPA code problem is difficult. Therefore, you cannot solve this what? You cannot find out the collusion. That is what the theorem tells. That is what we have proved. We are assuming that we have found the collusion. Taking it as we have got a collusion. And finally, we have proved that for a given S, we are able to find out an error vector of weight at most T. This is the reduction proof we have given. So this you cannot solve it, right? For a given X, no one can find out an error vector of weight T. So this assumption is wrong. So this is how our all theorems proof will be going on. We will take one assumption that we can do a forgery or we can do an decryption without knowing the secret key. And we have to give a reduction proof towards a hard problem. So also we have proved that chameleon hash is semantically secure. It satisfies the non-transferability, key exposure free, and the proposed scheme is unforgeable. And the proposed scheme is compared with that existing non-transferable signatures. So there are only 3 non-transferable signatures under code base. And we have shown that the first 2, Ren et al. And Shustri et al. Schemes are not transferable. We have proved that they are not transferable. And only scheme is Azar et al. Scheme is not, it is non-transferable scheme. So when we compare with Azar et al. Scheme, our signature size is almost same. But look at the verification cost. We have drastically, both of them we have used that GOPA code only. But depending, there is a changes in this algorithm. They have used a strong designated verifier signature, and we are using the chameleon hash. So the verification cost is drastically reduced, right? With the same signing cost. The future direction, research direction. So in quantum world, many applications require privacy preserving signatures. We have to design signatures. We have to do cryptanalysis. Depending upon the analysis, we have to change the parameters of that code, and we have to design the protocols using the secure primitives. So making code-based cryptography is more practical, is the biggest challenge, because till now there is only we are using GOPA codes. So it has a huge size. The research problem is you can reduce the size of the key by changing the different codes, but already they have taken a variation of Michaelis by changing different codes, by choosing different codes, but some of them, most of the variants are subjected to the attacks. So one thing is you can find out a good code and you can build a crypto system on it, depending upon the application. Not only for encryption, decryption, signature, you can have key encapsulation process, right? That is privacy preserving signature, proxy signature, blind, so many applications. Depending upon each applications, you can design the algorithm. Algorithm can be designed, or as in another way of research is you can find out a suitable code which have a fast encoding and decoding. So the morning session and this afternoon section is taken from this. Most of the concepts is taken from this post-quantum cryptography by Bernstein and Buchman, right? Here they have given some implementation details, everything also. Yes. Any questions?
Participants, any questions?
Are you not interested in code-based cryptography? I got lot of questions in hash-based, but no questions under code-based.
As usual, Pratisha is ready.
Ma'am, actually, I am currently reading on code-based.
Ma'am, I'm not able to hear you.
Louder.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it audible? Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I'm currently reading on code-based cryptography. I have just started my research work. I'm a scholar.
Okay,
So,
ma'am.
like,
Good.
your session was very interesting, ma'am. It really gave a lot of information about the current existing systems, especially signature systems and all. And ma'am, about the encryption system, no, ma'am, mostly we refer to McLeish system only as a stable
Yes.
system so far. Even though many systems have came after that, they were all broken because of their codes, because of the like category of codes we are able to use in it. So mostly, most of the research or almost everything is concentrating on linear codes only, no, ma'am, so far.
Yes.
What about non-linear codes, ma'am? Are there any chances for using
But
non-linear
that
codes?
is and all the decoding complexity. Is therefore only we are going for linear codes.
Okay, ma'am. So mostly it will be based on linear codes only, no, ma'am. Like,
But what you can do is at present GOPA code only it's withstand that for 40 years. It is sustainable, right? It's stable.
yes, ma'am.
So they have
Yes, ma'am.
well studied. So when you design a system, we have to wait whether it is subjected to any attacks. So if you are interested in choosing designing the algorithm means just select
Yes,
the
ma'am.
code which is already stable codes. You select it and you give a variation in designing of that algorithm. Actually, we have given a variation. This is our proposed scheme.
Okay, ma'am. So it's
This
really
privacy
interesting, ma'am.
preserving signal. And this
Yes.
scheme, there is no non-transferable signature under code-based chameleon signature. So there are
Yes, ma'am.
schemes in 2000 itself. Krasik proposed a non-transferable, that is chameleon hash scheme, using
Yes.
number theory. So you can look at that and you can map that number theory concepts via the coding, right? Or lattice
Yes, ma'am.
based, whatever thing.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
That
you,
is the
ma'am. I
one
was
way I can tell, but I am also not well versed in coding theory, right? I'll select the
yeah.
code and just I'll be applying. I will give the variations in algorithm, right? And I have to see
Yes.
that it has to reduce. So the some significant improvement has to be given either in signing or encryption cost. Then only our
Yes,
paper
ma'am.
will be accepted, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Actually, currently the most recent search was about this QD, QC, MDPC codes and
Ma'am,
LDPC
that
codes.
is a
ma'am.
weak code. Actually, it reveals the structure.
Yeah.
QD,
Yes,
dyadic
ma'am.
code, quasi-cyclic, low density.
Yes.
Actually, I also started my research and I make my hands dirty only, I have to tell. Not able to come up because already weak code. Then when you build
Yes,
a
ma'am.
system
Yes.
on the weakness, how can you tell your system is strong, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We are also working on that, ma'am. Actually, I'm
And
on my
you have
initial
to see,
part.
look at NIST thing candidates. Actually,
Yes, ma'am.
Michaelis classic McCallis is withstanding, right? Till the third round
Yes,
has
ma'am.
announced. So it's
Yes, ma'am.
classic McCallis only. So that McCallis has studied, well studied, right? So it's
Yes, ma'am,
withstanding a
exactly.
lot of attacks. So you can
Yes.
take this algorithm or mediator syndrome decoding, and you
Yes,
can give some, you can make that scheme suitable for different applications.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely, I'll consider all these things, ma'am. It was really interesting. Your session was extremely beautiful, ma'am. It was really showing some light into various topics, like those who are new to this domain. It's extremely useful, ma'am. Thank you so
Okay, ma'am.
much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your feedback. I am happy, ma'am.
Madam, I am having one question.
Yes.
For the evaluation, I mean, what extra parameters are used for this code-based quantum cryptography? For the parameters we are using for the classical cryptography, can we use them, or any other parameters are used for this?
This same parameters only.
Okay, same parameters.
Same parameters
Thank-
only.